Episode 15 of 20, faculty collaboration and team dynamics. The principal said, "Hey, everybody," talking to his staff, "we're going to have a whole group conversation around how to get our learners more engaged in February. We know that February is a rough one, so let's just talk about it." One of the lead teachers looks at him and says, "No protocol, huh? This should work out great." What a great culture to be able to have that conversation, because the principal knew exactly what happened right then. He was too busy. He came right from a district meeting and said, "Hey, let's just have a conversation." He didn't have time to put a protocol together, but he knew that that jab, right, that little bitty jab from his lead teacher in jest and in fun was absolutely right. So we should have a protocol. So he stopped and said, "Well, what protocol would be best?" Now that's transparent leadership. Hey, February is coming up. It's going to be a rough month. What do we think we should do? What kind of protocol do you all think we should run? And then the team came up with a protocol, agreed upon it. Like, that's empowering for your staff. And it shows such transparency to say, I want to find the best answer. And yep, I just came from a meeting. I'm not prepared. It happens. What can we do now? How can we get better? And it really starts to create a team dynamic and culture that's super positive. So, what I think it also emphasizes is that this is a school. Again, it's one of our national model schools that I was at, and they have a culture of protocols. They have a process of structures and processes, and they do that because it gets things done. Like, so I was a visitor that day, just kind of observing, but everybody knew that, we don't just do whole group discussions, right? There's something's different with us. We want to make sure we're getting things done to affect classroom culture, to really help our learners in February. Like, we're all in this as a team. So they knew that really they needed a protocol. And that came out because it's just part of what they do. It wasn't like, "Hey, Ryan's here, let's change what we do." Not at all, right? I just got to be a part of the discussion. So every administrator can create a culture of continuous innovation by following a few simple moves. Simple, but not always natural. And this process, or this culture of continuous innovation, that's one of our higher levels when we look at our model school rubric, right? So a lot of times we're called in to help stir up the innovation, to bring structures and processes over a 3-year period to say, "Hey, let's bring in some innovation to our classroom, into our faculty meetings, really to our whole ethos." And what we want to see is, by the end, we've empowered your team, you and your team, with the structures, the processes, the mindsets to have your own continuous innovation. You don't need us to poke and prod. Obviously, we're happy to. We want to be a part of the conversation, but continuous innovation is already happening. And then what happens is now we start to connect you with other schools that are also innovating. And now you're just trading innovative ideas. Now that is fun. That's something you want to lead, right? You're not managing at that point. You're leading an innovative environment. That gets exciting. So we've got a few simple moves, but again, they're not natural. Simple, but not natural. Simple move number one is to offer strategies for collaboration during staff meeting times. And when we talk about protocols, we talk about structures. In cultures, school cultures that get protocols, it is natural, right? It is natural to say, "Hey, let's do a golden shining moments right now," or let's do a tuning protocol, or, "Man, it's been a tough week. Can we just do a connections protocol?" And that's how our innovative environments, that's how they speak. Like, that's just part of their wording and their culture. Like, everybody knows what that means, and they're like, "Yeah, that's spot on. Let's do a connections protocol," right? They get it. But if you're just starting out, the most natural thing is to say, "Hey, I've got this new PBL unit. Can we talk about it for a little bit?" And that little bit is going to be 30 minutes. And that person that brought it up is going to leave with like maybe 2 pieces of good feedback, versus a tuning protocol that's structured with likes and wonders. You leave with 14 pieces of great feedback in 7 minutes, right? So the average person, though, doesn't see the joy of a protocol, right? So I giggle because our people that are in this work, they get it, right? And some people don't. I remember when I went to our Thanksgiving, it was actually at my wife's family that Thanksgiving, and I brought my computer, and I think Padlet had just come out, right? Electronic post-it notes. And I was like, "This is going to be awesome. I'm going to bring a protocol to Thanksgiving and we're going to talk about all the things we're thankful for. And I announced it to everybody. I said, and different families get different colored Post-it notes. Hey, Chad, your family gets green. Mine will be blue. You guys be pink. And then just put down what you're thankful for. And then at the end, we'll get to read them all. And nobody did it but me, right? And I made some of my kids do it, right? So because people aren't used to these protocols, but these are the things that create continuous innovation. These are the things that protect voice, all these SEL pieces that we want, right? For adults too. You need a safe psychological environment for teamwork to happen. And protocols are one way to do that, to protect that voice. So the simple move number one, again, simple, but not necessarily natural. You'll have to bring this into your faculty meetings. It will not happen accidentally. You can find some teachers that get real geeky. That's an affectionate term for me, like that are geeky about this, and have them bring them in, train them, and let them run the protocols, if it's not you. But you're going to have to bring these things in because it's simple, but it's not natural. And as you start to model this, then you're going to see it happen in classrooms. Simple move number two for faculty collaboration and team dynamics is that practices need to permeate all aspects of human interaction to become most effective. That might be a bit of a mouthful, but again, this is the idea of simple, not natural. So all of your human interactions, like if it's one-on-one, if it's 1-on-5, if it's 1-on-30, you have a protocol of some kind so that you're protecting voice. You're giving likes and wonders. You're asking clarifying questions. You're not asking judging questions, right? You are asking what and how questions more than why, because that could be a little attacking, right? So you're starting to model these things in every interaction that you have, right? Before you never start a meeting without an agenda, right? Even if it's one-on-one. Hey, can we talk? Sure. Can you put an agenda together and send it to me beforehand so that I can prepare? Oh, I thought I would just stop by your office and waste a bunch of your time because we don't have an agenda and we'll just talk in circles. Well, you don't do that anymore. You're creating a culture of innovation. So every meeting, if it's one staff member or 2 or 5, you're going to get an agenda ahead of time so that you can look at it ahead of time and know what you're getting into. But more importantly, so that they have to prepare what it is that they're going to say. They have to put it into an agenda. They can't just go in there and just blah, put all this stuff out anymore. That's not how our environment works. It's not how the culture works. And if you don't want to put an agenda together, that's fine. We're not ready to meet because that's what we do. And you're starting to define your innovative environment this way. And when you do that as the leader, your teachers will do that. And it goes right down into your students. It becomes something that's natural. If you're having a hard time getting your teachers to put their standards on the board or their agenda for the day on the board, like it's part of your walkthrough, when you start to model it, they start to do it, it becomes part of what you do. Every human interaction has some kind of a protocol connected to it. You can still be human during those human interactions. And I would, in fact, would say that when you have a protocol, it allows you to be more human. It allows you to get to the root cause of things. It's really actually super exciting, but again, simple, but not natural. Simple move number 3, discuss how to address and resolve team conflicts in constructive ways. Sometimes you'll have some new teams that need to storm a little bit. They're going to have some personalities that clash. It's a great time to start teaching team conflict resolutions. So it could be check-ins. Some groups have as their agreements that there's a 24-hour rule. If I offend you in some way, it's my job to come to you within 24 hours or I have to let it drop. And what it does is it makes me go and say, hey, I just wanted to say that, when you said that one thing, it did kind of offend me with the 24-hour rule. I just wanted to come say something. And most of the time you're like, oh, I didn't even know that. Thank you so much for bringing that up. But you start to build this culture again with this norm of a 24-hour rule. You're building the culture that we don't just get to sit and stew. We have to interact. We have to talk about the conflicts that are there before they become big things, right? You could do some role plays. You can, go and mine some conflict resolution strategies and bring them into the faculty meeting. But I love role plays, right? Like, let's say that you're talking about, like we did in one of the previous episodes, about you're going to look at assessment practices of group grading versus individual. And now you're going to role play with a parent that says, hey, my child failed because they had a bad group. let's role play that, right? Let's see, what would you say? Well, actually, if you look at their individual score, oh, okay. Right. And start to role play some of these conversations, role play the 24-hour rule. You're going to start to discuss what what it looks like to resolve team conflicts. Because as there's change, there's going to be conflicts. And there's conflicts right now. And in whatever environment you're in, we just rarely actually bring them out. And in a PBL environment, we want to be collaborative and we want to be transparent because that's where the real work happens. That's where we can start to excel. We can find areas of growth and things really start to happen. It usually happens, though, in these open environments where your team dynamics are thriving. So you're going to create a culture of continuous innovation. That's the goal. Does not happen on its own. It's fairly simple, but it's not natural. So the simple moves you're going to use is you're going to offer strategies during your staff meetings. And that time you're going to demonstrate and model some of these protocols. You're going to address in every human interaction, you're going to have these different protocols. And you're going to figure out how to resolve team conflicts. And not just figure it out, but you're going to model those practices, right? You're going to intentionally learn these things. You're going to be great at resolving team conflicts. Because when you do it with adults, they're going to do it with their kids. And again, pretty soon we're on all cylinders. All right. Your call to action is the one-page playbook for winning faculty meetings. I want you to rework your faculty meeting. I get that you have a ton of information that you just need to get out to people. But when you just sit and you just say a bunch of stuff at people for 35 minutes, then they go to their classrooms and they do the same thing. I've got too much to teach. I just have to tell it at them. So you've got to rework your faculty meetings so that they're collaborative, so that your classrooms can be collaborative. And we've got a free resource for you. If you go to our homepage, just go to magnifypbl.com, magnifypbl.com, all the way to the bottom, you'll see a place to put in your info and you'll get a free one-page playbook for winning faculty meetings. You can revamp your faculty meeting in just 15 minutes and you'll be ready to go. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be filled with voice and choice, collaboration, and energy, right? Your staff are going to want to come to faculty meetings. They're not just going to be grading in the back. Faculty collaboration will create a cycle of continuous innovation. That is your goal. It's not automatic. You need to scaffold it. You need to teach it. It's simple. It's not normal. And we're going to give these skills to our teachers. They can scaffold for their learners. And these scaffolding skills for success are what we're going to talk about in the next episode.